In this video, we'll learn how to navigate to Aura component, and this time our type will be standard underscore underscore component. So let's go to our VS Code. So let's create the new component this time. The component name will be navigate Aura component. And now our component is ready for LWC, and we want to do the navigation. So let's import the navigation mixin. Let's add the import navigation mixin from Lightning Navigation. Let's wrap our Lightning element by navigation mixin, and let's create a method that will get called up on click of a button. So we'll say navigate Aura. I'll keep this method as it is. I'll go to the HTML. I'll create the Lightning card. The card will have the title navigate to Aura, and within the card I'm gonna create a button, and then button will have the variant brand and label navigate to Aura. And on click we want to call our method that just now we created in our JS file. I'll go to the JS file, take the method name and add to the on click. Our HTML is ready. On click of that button I'll calling the navigate to Aura. Now we have to call our navigation here, so we'll say this navigation mixin dot navigate, and we have to call the method. We have to pass the page reference here, the same type, and the type this time will be standard underscore underscore component. And attributes, this time attribute not be any page name or any API name, it will be a component name because we are navigating to Aura component. And I'll say whatever our component will edit here. So now we need a Aura component. So let's go to our command palette, and you can type for Aura. You will see create Aura component, and make sure whatever be the name you give, it should not be same already exist anywhere, whether in the Aura components already in the LWC component. Even though if I change the casing, it will consider it as same. So always give a unique name. So I'll say Aura navigation. Okay, so I create the Aura navigation component, and it will create under the Aura folder, and rest will be under the LWC folder. So the component just now we created, that is Aura navigation, you can see under the Aura folder. And let's go and write something in our Aura component now. So here, if those who don't know how Aura works, .cmp file is the HTML file of Aura component, and JS file you can remember just for our demo purpose is the controller.js. Okay, so we're just gonna use these two files, cmp and the controller.js. cmp is the HTML file. Okay, so first of all we want our component to be visible, so we say implements, and we can add the implements like similar to the meta file. We add it should be visible to the target record page, app page. Similarly here you have to add flexi page, and we can say available for all the pages. Okay, apart from that you have to give the access global so that it's available globally, and access has double C. So now we have just given right now the configuration, this component should be visible. Now we're gonna create a variable or a attribute that will store the ID that will be gonna pass from our LWC. So here we create using Aura colon attribute, and then we'll pass the name and the ID, like name whatever variable you want to create. So name, I want to create a variable with ID or an attribute with ID name, and the type is the string here. So whatever be the value comes from there, a record ID we going to pass from the LWC, and whatever value pass will catch it in our Aura component and will store it to the ID property, and the type of that property is string. and it's a self-closing. Similarly, we want a method that should call on load of the page that can catch the ID that you are passing from LWC. For that, we need to create the Aura colon handler. It will have a name property that is init. It will take a value that is a reference and colon this, and then it will take a action. Action is something like on click or something. On load, it will call immediately this method, whatever we'll pass it here. We'll say on click exclamation C dot init. C represent you are calling the controller. Okay, so we are calling the controller, and controller should have a method init. You can give any name like on load or anything. Okay, we'll create an on load method now, and now we want this method to be available in the controller. So I'll go to the controller. By default, we have some code given by the component creation. So I'll change this method name to onload, and it's taking 3 parameters. I'll say only I need component, and whenever the ID comes from LWC, it will comes in a way component dot get p dot page reference. It takes the page reference, and let's store this into my page reference variable, and this will take the all context of the page. Okay, that's why we are saying it page reference. It will have many properties, and then we'll say take out the ID from the state of the page reference. So we'll say in page reference there will be a property called state that will store all the properties, and if you are passing the ID, it will come as C underscore underscore ID. Okay, and once we have the ID, we'll store this ID into our attribute that we have created ID. We'll come back to the controller and say component dot set. Now we are setting up, and whenever you set, you have to say v means the attributes, and ID, and set the ID whatever you have stored. And let's go back to our component cmp file, and we close this. This is also a self-closing. So whenever the page loads, on load itself it call this method. This will has the reference, and on load will catch the ID. But catch the ID, we need to add one more thing in the implements that allow us to capture the ID, that is lightning is URL addressable. So this is an important point here. Here you have to pass, enter it, lightning is URL addressable. Okay, so this is important to capture the record ID that is coming in a URL form. So now once we have the ID, now we'll write our HTML. So we'll say div class slds card. This is the slds class that looks like a card in, and then we'll say in div, hey, I am coming from LWC, and we can print the ID, and my record ID is, and say exclamation mark v dot id. So it will take the ID that we are storing it here, and we are storing on the load. On load we are fetching the page reference. We are from the page reference we are going to state and taking out the ID, and we are storing that ID to a ID variable, and in HTML we are printing that ID. So now till here it's all good. Our Aura component is ready. Let's go back to our LWC component, that is navigate to Aura component. Now I have to give the name of my component, so it will be C underscore underscore and your component name Aura navigation. And now we are telling on click of that button, type is standard component, and attributes is component C underscore Aura navigation. So it will navigate, but right now we are not passing the ID, so we need to pass the ID. So to pass the ID we have to create the state. So after comma we'll say state, and which format we are expecting the ID. If you go to the Aura component controller, you can see we are sending the ID in the form of C underscore underscore ID. So I'll say the state will be c underscore underscore id, and the id can be anything that you want to pass. So now our both components are ready, and let's change, before deploying we have to change the meta file. I'll change it to true, and I need to set the targets, and for targets I'll add lightning app page. So now let's go to our terminal and run our command sfdx force colon source colon push. It will deploy our both components. Now it deployed our both component. You can see it here. You can scroll, you can see the Aura bundle as well as our LWC bundle. Let's go to our page, navigation page, edit the page. Let's place our component onto the page. Let's search for our component, Aura, navigate to Aura component. Let's this. You can see we added the flexi page visible for all pages. So here our Aura component is also visible. If you remove it, it will not visible here. We can remove that as well. That also fine for us because we are navigating to that page. We are not placing that component to the page. So I just drag my navigate to Aura LWC component onto the screen, hit the save button, hit the back button, and now let's click our button. It should call my Aura component, and I'm passing some random ID, and that random ID will go as in the URL, and we'll pull that ID and show on the screen. So let's click. So as I click, it's printing the data that we are printing in our Aura component. Here I am coming from LWC. My record ID is this that I'm passing. And now if you look at the URL carefully, it has c underscore underscore id. This is the state that we are picking up from the page reference. And this is actually nothing. This is a state that we are passing in our LWC component. So this is little bit tricky, but once you are used to it, looks very easy for implementation. So I'll repeat it quickly again. What we have done, we have created two components. One is Aura, one is LWC. In LWC we have created a button. On click of that button we are calling the Aura component, and we are giving the name of the Aura component with c underscore underscore, and the state we are passing c underscore underscore id, and we are passing some id. And in Aura component, if I go to the Aura component, in Aura component we have created an attribute id, and we have created a handler. This handler will call on the page load or the component loads. It immediately call this onload method. It will go to the controller. In controller we are fetching the page reference. This page reference is only available when you have implements lightning colon is URL addressable, and once it fetch the reference of the component or the page, from that it will fetch the state, and in the state it will look, do you have c underscore underscore id. As we are passing it, it stores the value into variable id and set it to the attribute v colon v dot id, and the same id we are printing on the screen with some text. So this is the approach how you can call or open the Aura component or navigate to Aura component from LWC. So that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next video.